this video, I will test one of the most popular fishing knots ever. We will find out how many turns are best and whether this applies to both monofilament and fluorocarbon lines. We will also test the knot with various line diameters and see if it's best to wet the knot before tightening it. I call this series Knot Science. You might say not science, but at least I can say that I have tried to be as precise and consistent in my tests as possible. The Palomar knot is very easy to tie. Double the line and pass it through the eye of a hook or swivel. If the line needs to go through a small eye, it is easiest to pull the line through one way and then back through the other way. It gives the same result. The line is now doubled. Next, make a simple overhand knot, where the doubled line is passed around itself once. The large loop is then pulled down around the swivel or hook. This is necessary to tie this knot. If you want to tie the knot to a large lure, block or similar, you can use a different knot, such as the uni knot or clinch knot. The loop is passed over the swivel and the knot is tightened, but not completely. Before that, it's a good idea to lubricate the knot by wetting it. This makes it easier to pull the knot tight. For this knot, I recommend wetting it, but we'll return to that later in the video. When demonstrating how to tie the knot, I use a thicker line than in the test. For the basic tests, I have used a well-known brand of monofilament nylon line. This is not a line test, it is a comparison between different knots. We start with the standard way of tying the knot, meaning with just one turn in the overhand knot. One turn is what is normally recommended for the Palomar knot. I conduct 3 tests and the average result forms the basis for my conclusion. We see that the tag end does not slip. It is completely locked. An average breaking strength of 6.4 kilograms, 14.11 pounds, is good, but there is a significant difference between the 3 initial test results. Now we tie the Palomar knot with 2 turns in the overhand knot. This is often recommended when using braided line, but that type of line is not included in this test. We will test braided lines in another video. The overall result is slightly better than with 1 turn. However, again, the 3 tests are not consistent. The next step is 3 turns. Here we quickly notice that it becomes more difficult to tighten the knot properly. In this case, we see that the doubled line is crossed. This can happen regardless of how many turns are used, but tests have shown that it does not weaken the knot. Now 3 turns. Here are the results after 3 tests with 3 turns. In general, there are large variations. The knots may look identical, but its breaking strength can vary significantly, by up to 20 to 30%. This also applies even if you take great care to tie them the same way. There may be an explanation for this, which I will cover in the conclusion at the end of the video. Most people would not tie the Palomar knot with 4 turns, but we test it anyway. The many turns make it difficult to tighten, and it does not feel like a well-tied knot. The results clearly show that this is not the best way to tie a Palomar knot. However, the test also confirms that 2 turns are the best. The difference is not huge, but it is there. But does the choice of line diameter make a difference? I extend the test to include different line diameters with 1, 2, and 3 turns. With a thin line and 1 turn, we again see significant variations in the results. With 2 turns, the results are better and more consistent. When testing 3 turns, we see that there is no difference when using a thin line. 2 turns perform slightly better, just as we observed with a thicker line at the beginning. There's no need to test with 4 turns, as no one would use that. Also, there's no need to go through all the tests in detail, so here is the final result. A clear pattern emerges. In all cases, 2 turns provide the strongest knot. There is not a huge difference between using 1, 2, or 3 turns, but 2 turns are generally 5 to 10% stronger than 1. Some results are influenced by test inaccuracies, but the most significant differences are found with the .42 30-pound line. Fluorocarbon lines generally have a smoother surface. Could this affect performance compared to monofilament? Here are all the test results for fluorocarbon line. Again, we see the same pattern. 2 turns are better than 1 in nearly all cases. However, in one instance, using a 0.22 mm 8-pound line, 1 turn performed better, and here one test with 2 turns deviates from the rest. However, overall, there are no significant variations compared to monofilament, and once again, 2 turns prove to be the best. Looking closely at the numbers, the results with fluorocarbon appear to be slightly more consistent than those with monofilament. It is a common assumption that the knot weakens if it is not moistened when tightened. I have tested both wet and dry Palomar knots with both monofilament and fluorocarbon. First, we look at the results with fluorocarbon. On the left, we have the knot that has been moistened, and on the right, the knot is dry, meaning it was not moistened when tightened. The moistened knot is slightly stronger, but there is not a big difference. And here are the results with monofilament. This test actually shows that the dry knot is slightly stronger. We can see that the differences are very small, so minimal that they are likely a result of the unavoidable variations in this type of test. But note that the fluorocarbon line is 15 pounds and the monofilament is 18 pounds. Also remember that this is not a comparison between lines, but between the individual knots. However, in any case, it is easier to tie the knot when it is moistened. We have observed the same pattern throughout. 2 turns are slightly better than 1 or 3, 4 turns are significantly worse. With 3 or 4 turns, we see that friction within the knot damages the line. It often breaks just above the knot where the line is weakened. Friction inside the knot is something we cannot fully control, and it is likely the cause of the variations in results. With 1 or 2 turns, we also see that the line is damaged within the knot, but to a much lesser extent. All in all, I would conclude that the Palomar knot is a good knot because it is easy to tie. However, I also believe that the test shows that the knot produces somewhat inconsistent results, even when tied with care. The test clearly shows that whether you use monofilament or fluorocarbon line, 2 turns are the sweet spot for achieving the strongest Palomar knot.